continue to help you. So again, our training today is brought to you by our partners over at Ventura County. And today we're so happy to be joined by Colleen Smith, the Business Solutions Specialist, who is here to share more about resources available to employers like you. Hello, Colleen.
Hello, thank you so much, Anna. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Colleen Smith. I am a business solutions specialist with the Workforce Development Board of Ventura County. I just wanted to briefly highlight one of our many resources that we can provide businesses and employers in the Ventura County area. That is our complimentary human resources hotline. You can call, if you don't have a very robust human resources team, you can call this number, 888-763-3174. Monday through Friday, 8 to 5, and you will speak to a live person. You can ask any kind of human resources related questions, hiring and firing, paid sick leave, maternity leave, employee handbooks, harassment prevention, and things like that. So we highly encourage all of our employers and businesses in Ventura County to take advantage of this service. It's just one of the many services that we can offer at no cost to Ventura County businesses and employers. If you're interested in hearing a little bit more about our business services, I'm going to put my information into the chat, my phone number and my email. Please feel free to reach out at any time, call, email, or text me, and I would be happy to set up a quick meeting just to let you know what else we can offer. So I will do that right now. And with that, I will send it back over to Anna and Mary. Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you, Colleen, for everything that you and your amazing team do for Ventura County employers. So now I'd love to introduce our trainer today. We have Mary Bradford, Senior HR Director. So you are in great hands. And Mary, that's all yours.
Great. Thank you so much, Colleen, and thank you, Anna, and welcome everyone. Really glad that you're able to join us. We do appreciate you taking some time out of your day. We know you are busy people and you have lots to do. So glad we get to spend a little time together. And I just wanted to give another quick plug for the hotline and just let you know what an amazing benefit this is that Ventura County, the Workforce Development Board, is providing you with. Our memberships at CEA, where you can call in and talk to a rep, start at over $1,000 per company. So you're getting a great perk. So we really encourage you, anytime you have questions, give us a call. It's toll free. Please make sure you're using the 888 number, because that is dedicated for you in Ventura County. But give us a call. We're always happy to answer any questions you have. I promise you, we won't judge you, and we want to help you. And our job is to just try to make your life a little easier, which is really CEA's goal. That is part of our mission statement, is we want to provide you with peace of mind and help you through these HR challenges, which are very difficult in California, and trying to figure out the rules to follow and what are best practices. And that's our job. We provide that through training just like this for you at the hotline, as well as our members. We can also assist you on site if you ever need additional assistance. We are always happy to help you with that. But I do encourage you, take a look at the future trainings that we have scheduled for you as a Ventura County business, because they're wonderful trainings. You can meet a lot of the different team members here and ask any of those questions you have. Now, I do want to remind everyone that we at CEA are not a law firm. So anytime you call into the hotline or anything I'm going to chat about today, please don't rely upon it as legal advice. What we are providing for you is information, resources, options, but really, ultimately, all of those decisions are up to you. So we're going to talk about a lot of laws and rules today. And it's up to you what you want to follow. We'll give you best practice. We'll give you what we would recommend, but those decisions are ultimately up to you. If you ever do have a question of legal significance, we do recommend that you contact an attorney. Sometimes it is nice to have a legal opinion. If you ever need help with finding an attorney, we do have partners that are on our website on employers.org, because sometimes it's hard to know who's a good partner that you can work with, and everyone we've worked with has been wonderful. So if you ever do need that, that's out there. I hope you don't need it, but if you do, that's a good resource. Just visit our website. And visit our website in general, actually, employers.org. Lots of great resources. We have our newsletters out there, our blog. We also have links under our HR forms to so many state and government forms. So it's really a nice centralized place that you can go if you're ever looking for a particular form. We do have some forms, though, that are behind the member portal. So you can consider a membership if you're not already a member, if you want to have full access to the website, but there's still lots of good stuff out there that's free. All right, so let's jump into today's topic. We are talking about hiring minors, and we are certainly in the season of bringing minors on to work with you. Maybe they're home for summer. I was just sharing with the group that I've got a couple of kids that are home for the summer, and both of them are having very different experiences looking for jobs. Now they're both 18, but in the past couple of years when they were younger, definitely I went through this whole process with them. So you might be going through the process with your own kids or trying to bring younger people onto your business. And that's what we're going to talk about today. We're going to talk about why it's a great thing and how it can be really wonderful for your business. I want to talk about recruiting best practices and things that you should look out for. We're going to talk about applications, interviewing, because it will be kind of a new world for a lot of your applicants as they're coming in to meet with you. And then I really want to talk about the onboarding process and how important it is to make that a really positive experience for your new employees, to set them up for success, as well as, looking at a good relationship, a good employment relationship you're going to have with that individual. And then we'll talk a little bit about just things to look out for as you're working with minors, a couple of laws to keep in mind, but then just a couple of best practices when it comes to teaching kids what it means to have a job and come into some place to work. So let's start about talking about why we want to hire minors. I think there's so many great benefits to hiring minors. A couple of things is we're looking at new perspectives. You have people who are young and energetic, and they are ready to come take on the world. And so they have new ideas. They are tech savvy. Boy, my kids can tell me how to do everything on any type of phone or social media. But that can bring a lot of new energy to your business. So that's a fun consideration. Also, when you need seasonal employees, it's going to be busy for your business over the summer or maybe over the holidays if you're planning on for later this year. So it's a great way to supplement your workforce so your own employees don't get burned out. And again, you can bring in a little bit of fresh energy to the workplace. And then we're also going to talk about internships and why we want to be sure that we're differentiating between an internship and an employee. So we're going to talk about all those things. So here's kind of a quick overview about interns, because there's a lot of confusion. I actually just had a question on this earlier today from one of our members. So in order for an individual to be unpaid in working for you in California, to say, oh, I want to do an internship with your company, or I'm interested in learning more, can I be your intern? Keep in mind, in order to be properly classified as an intern, they have to be attending and getting credit through a school or some sort of vocational training program. A lot of times people will say, oh, can I just be an intern? I just want to learn from you. You don't have to pay me. But if they're not getting credit through a school, then they're not truly an intern, and you really want to pay them. California does not like anyone working for free unless they're getting some sort of credit through an accredited school or, again, some sort of training program. Now, interns are supposed to work in, an area where they can learn a lot, but it shouldn't be just benefiting one company. So it should kind of be they're learning how to be an office worker, or they're learning how to work in manufacturing or something like that. We also have to keep in mind that interns can't displace a regular employee who's working for you. And for someone, again, to be an intern when they're earning that credit, someone needs to be supervising that. So it's normally a school program. It's an intern coordinator at their local high school, most likely, who's helping with them through their career center. So they have to be overseeing the program. And we also want to make sure when somebody comes to us as an intern, we're very clear that this is an internship. You're receiving credit through this high school or through this training program. And it's not that they are an employee, because if they're an employee, then they could be entitled to certain benefits like health insurance, for example. They'd be covered by your workers' comp. all of those things. So we have to make sure we really do classify these individuals correctly. And when you're working with someone as an intern, we also want to make sure that we're saying this is unpaid because you're getting credit through the school. Now, if you want to pay interns, we're going to talk about that too, because you might think, you know what, they're getting credit through an internship program, but you know what, I want to pay them a little bit for this work that they're doing. Yes, you can. You can absolutely do that. And that's a wonderful, generous thing if that works for you. But keep in mind, once you do that, once they're on your payroll, they're an employee. So they're going to have some of those protections too. So that means we need to make sure, of course, we're handling all the new hire paperwork like we would for any individual who's on our payroll working for us. So they're going to get a W-2 at the end of the year, and FLSA, that's the Fair Labor Standards Act. All of those rules still apply. So we need to really take a look at what we're going to do for our business just to make sure we're paying those individuals correctly. So then let's talk about the seasonal workers, because this is probably what you're dealing with the most, especially right now during summertime. So a lot of times kids are coming home from school, or again, they're maybe in a high school program, it's a summer break for them. And so they're just looking for temporary employment. Oftentimes it's over the summer, depending if they're on the quarter or the semester system. My kids were out the first couple of weeks of May, a couple of other kids, are just finishing up in the past week if they were on the quarter system in California. So kids get out at different times of the year, but they can still work for you a lot of the months of the summer, normally June, July, August. A lot of schools don't go back till September, so you might even get some workers through September. And then, of course, over the holidays, a lot of schools have extended holiday breaks. Sometimes they're 4 or 5 weeks, so you can get some work from your employees at that time. And then also, it's nice when you start hiring someone for one summer, maybe they want to come back next summer. You kind of have somebody who's already trained, you know them, they know your system. So it can be a great opportunity too to kind of get some continued employment, and maybe they'll eventually be one of your regular full-time staff too. So there's lots of advantages when you're working with minors or bringing people in internships or hiring them seasonally. It can be a recruiting tool for you. You can find some great opportunities to get people very cheaply because it's their first job and they're starting to work out, and then you keep them on again over those subsequent summers. You can also see, you know what, you're doing your part to train tomorrow's workforce. And that's what I would really encourage you to take a look at is you want to make sure that when you're bringing, and we'll talk about this on onboarding, but you want to make this a really positive experience because you could be somebody's first boss, which is pretty cool. And you want to make sure you're setting them up for success and really making it a good, positive experience for them. And then also, this could be identifying potential college interns. So maybe you're dealing with minors right now that are in high school. They're going to head off to school or vocational training. You could keep bringing them back. And again, have that resource to keep using them for different seasonal times where you need them, or again, hiring them. Great increased visibility for your organization. If you are on social media and you post about, we've got this internship program, or this intern worked for us or worked as an intern 2 years ago, and now we just hired them as an employee, that is a great recruiting tool and also a really positive exposure for your business. So think of it in a really positive light. And again, it's giving back to the community. These are local kids who are looking for jobs and looking to work at their first organization, and you could be the really cool person that brings them on. So it's a great opportunity. So let's talk about the recruiting process and really best practices for bringing on minors, bringing on interns who might be working for you. So we want to take a look at applications, interviewing, and then onboarding. So the first thing you want to do, and really a lot of these apply for any regular positions that you're hiring as well, but we need to figure out, am I looking for a seasonal person? Is this just for the summer in between maybe their junior and senior year of high school? Or am I looking for someone year round? Is this maybe I'm in retail, or maybe I own a restaurant and I'm going to have a minor work for me, but I want them there all year? Great. Let's figure that out first. And let's make sure we're also very clear in communicating that to people when you are posting the job or looking for people, because we want our applicants to know what we're expecting of them. Then we need to be clear on the days and the hours. And we'll talk about why that's so important when we talk about work permits. But you need to figure out, what is it that your business really needs? What makes sense for bringing this person on? We need to figure out what are the skills we're looking for? What kind of skill set are we hoping to develop? Because again, a lot of these kids are going to come to you without a lot of skills, but what can we train them on? What can we teach them to do? And then we also want to make sure we're considering any physical ability requirements. We'll talk about job descriptions on our next slide, but we really want to take a look at what does a person need to be able to do in order to do this job? Do they need to be able to move 25-pound grain sacks from one place to another? Or do they really only need to be able to lift 15 pounds in this role? Are they standing a lot? Are they bending? Are they stooping? Are they pushing? Are they pulling? What is it that they're going to be doing? Because we want to make sure we're also very clear in that. If there are certain physical requirements, we want to make sure that we're explaining those to individuals when they're coming to interview or when we're posting the job, whatever it is, because we need to make sure, again, individuals are qualified to do that job. So this is why we recommend you create a job description. We are all about job descriptions here at CEA. We recommend it for every position, but certainly these positions. We want to make sure for kids just coming in, they understand, again, what those expectations are. So we're going to talk about job responsibility. We're going to talk about essential functions. Is it working on Microsoft Office and they need to know how to do Excel and PowerPoint? Is it running some type of office equipment? Are they going to be making copies? Are they going to be doing data entry? Whatever it is, we want to let people know exactly what it is. Again, we want to write down those physical requirements, anything that an individual would be really required to do in that job. We want to talk about if a job is exempt or non-exempt. These positions are always going to be non-exempt, which means it's going to be an hourly position. And then we also want to talk about what are those days? What are the hours that they're working? Are weekends required? What time are they going to need to be working? Again, we're going to talk about that when we talk about work permit restrictions, but we want to be really clear so everyone understands what it is. And then also on every single job description, we always recommend you put the bullet item of other duties as assigned. So people know we might say you're going to do these 4 things, but you know what? Sometimes we need you to do a couple of other things. Now, for those of you that are CEA members, I encourage you to take a look at our job description toolkit. It will walk you step by step through how to set up a job description for your positions. Really user-friendly and a very helpful tool. But if you're not a member, I don't want you to be overwhelmed by job descriptions. They really can just be one page. They don't have to be extra fancy schmancy. You want to make sure it's just a document that is easy to understand. It is objective. It is based on the essential functions of that job. And you want to make sure it's, of course, compliant. This is one of those things where AI might be a good resource for you too, as you're writing those job descriptions. There's a lot of good tools out there for you, but certainly for those of you that are CEA members, take a look at our toolkit. Now, when it comes time to advertise the position, remember, you're not going to probably want to incur a lot of cost for these positions. So this is where I recommend advertise internally. Tell your employees, hey, we're looking for a part-time person to work over the summer. High school kids are great. They're able to come in and work, from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m., whatever it is. If you want to have a fun little referral program where you say, if we bring somebody on, we'll give you a $25 Starbucks gift card or something like that, you can certainly do that as well. That's always your discretion. If you do need to advertise externally, there's lots of great options. LinkedIn is very popular for high school and college kids to look at for positions. So you can post on there. America's Job Centers, that's something free from the state, from the EDD. So you can take a look at that. If there's trade associations that you're affiliated with, that might be a good place to post because those will all be online as well. Or maybe someone will see it and know somebody who's looking for a job. So word of mouth can definitely be a great way to go. Now, when it comes to posting that job, if you do an actual job posting where you put it online, keep in mind, if you have 15 or more employees in California, you're now required to also put that starting pay scale. So in California, our minimum wage is $16.90 per hour. And so if you are just following the state minimum wage, your starting range might be $16.90 to $18 an hour. That's all you have to put. Even if your salary range is really $16.90 to $24 an hour, for someone to truly start in this job, maybe they're just going to make $16.90. That's perfectly fine. But if you do have 15 or more employees, you do need to make sure you're now listing that starting range in the job description as well. So here's some interviewing best practices when we're working with minors. they will probably be very intimidated and very overwhelmed. So I would encourage you to do anything you can to make your applicant feel comfortable and not scared and not intimidated. And really, they're not going to most likely have a lot of experience. Maybe some of them have done babysitting. Maybe they've had or worked for their parents doing something along those lines. But this is really where I would encourage you to try to have a conversation with these individuals and just say, what interests you about this job? What are you interested in studying in college? Or what are you enjoying studying right now in high school? If you had another job, what did you like about it? What did you not like about it? What would you changed? And then this is why you can show them that job description and say, here's this position. Why do you think you would be good at it? What skills do you have that really match what we're looking for? You can also ask them about their other experiences. Have they played on sports teams? Have they been a leader in their class? Are they part of student government or something like that? You just kind of have a conversation to learn a little bit more about them. And then you can also do more behavioral interviewing where you say, tell me about a time when. And this could be, tell me about a time where you were really crunched on time and what you did to fix it to make sure that you got that report done on time, or when you helped out a teammate or something like that. Because again, they're probably not going to have a lot of work experience, but you can learn a little bit about them by just asking some of those questions. Now, just like every other individual that you're talking to, make sure that we don't ask any questions on protected classification. So we don't ask about ancestry or religion or anything really having to do with their economic background, what part of town they live in. We don't want to ask those kind of questions. We want it to focus on the job. So we're looking at leadership, we're looking at skills, we're looking at how they manage things. We don't need to ask about their family, where they're from, anything along those lines. The other thing I would encourage you to do, if you go through that application process, you pick out your great candidate, maybe you talk to 3 or 4 other students who are interested in working for you. I would really encourage you to do a thanks but no thanks, either an email, a letter, or better yet, a phone call, where you just call and say, thank you so much for applying. We really appreciate it. We found another candidate for this position, but we wish you the very best in your future job pursuit. Or you could also say, we have this other position that we think you might be a good fit for. Or we don't have this, any other positions available, but we are expecting over Christmas break or over winter break that we will have some more positions. If you're interested, please contact us in November and we'd love to talk with you again. So really try to this is where that professionalism really comes into play, and you want to set yourself apart by being the really good person that reached out and said, thanks so much for applying, but it didn't work out this time. And again, you want to make sure you handle this really with very high standards. And again, that sets a good example for you. And then that's what's going to happen. For somebody you don't hire, they're going to tell their friends, oh, I didn't get a job at XYZ, but they were so nice. They called and told me that it went to somebody else, but they told me I could reapply. And, those kind of things makes a real difference as opposed to an individual applies somewhere and then you never contact them. And that's what they're going to tell their friends. They're going to say, well, I applied over there and they didn't even call me. It was so rude. So this is where I would encourage you to make sure you're always leaving a good impression as an employer. All right, so here are our steps. We've done our interview. We've gone through that application process. We found our candidate. We let the others know that they were not hired. So what are we going to do? We are going to make them a job offer. Then our next step is going to get a work permit, and then we're going to work on onboarding that individual. So I would recommend you put together an offer letter. It'd be great if it was written. If you need to text it, you can do that. But sending a written letter again is just kind of sending the message that this is serious and we're a serious company, and here's all the information we want to provide to you. We recommend welcome the individual and say we're looking forward to having you start with us. Here's what I would also recommend. Kids that are interviewing for the first time, especially if they're meeting with you or maybe a couple of people, they probably won't necessarily remember everybody's name and everybody's title. So make sure you put that in the offer letter, however you send it to them. So let them know what they're going to be doing for you with the position title and who they're going to report to. You also want to say how much they're going to be making, what day they're going to start, and what time you want them to start. So just really spell it all out. Make sure it's very, very clear. You can also let them know what paydays are. A lot of times kids forget to ask that. So if you're paid every week, you can say we're paid weekly on Friday. Just give them as much information as you can. I promise you it will help them out a lot. All right, and then let's talk about that work permit process. Even if it is summertime, you still need to get a work permit for any minors that are working for you. So they can get it through their school. If the school is closed, they can get it through their local district office. They issue these all year. So there are sections for the minor to complete. There's sections for their parent to complete or their guardian. And then it's going to go to the employer, and then it goes to school. So once everything is filled out and the school receives it, that's when they will issue a work permit. This normally doesn't take very long. Oftentimes they can do it as the student's waiting, or they might even say, come back the next day and we'll have it ready for you. But you do want to make sure you get that work permit before you have any minors that are working for you, or before they start working for you, because you want to make sure you get it back, and that's going to go in that individual's personnel file. Now, the work permit is very, very helpful, and I recommend you pay attention to it because it will tell you exactly how many hours that individual can work. It is very dependent on the the age of the minor that's working for you. It will tell you what shifts they can work, and a lot depends on if it's a school day or a school night, how late they can work, limits on hours that they can work in total during the week. So it's all spelled out for you. Do make sure that you follow that. If you do not, there are severe penalties. So make sure you're always following everything that's in the work permit. They might have some extra limitations or restrictions too. So of course, make sure you're following that as well. The other thing to remember is that permit will expire 5 days after the start of the next school year. So most kids are starting in August or September. 5 days after it expires, and they need to get a new one. So if you have kids that are working for you all year, make sure you remind them, hey, your work permit's expiring. When you go back to school, let's get a new work permit. So when it comes to onboarding our new hires, again, it's just like a regular employee, even though that they're a minor working for you. So you want to make sure you're giving them all the forms, all the notices. We have a whole checklist on our website that you can access. And we also have an entire new hire packet that you can purchase on our store. It's a PDF. Everything is zipped together. It's very, very handy. So if you're doing some hiring, take a look and consider that. You want to sit down with the employee. You're going to go over your policies. You want to make sure you get all those acknowledgement forms back. Of course, harassment prevention. You want to talk about IIPP, that's your injury illness prevention plan. Also, your workplace violence prevention plan should be part of that, your employee handbook. All of those documents you want to make sure you're going over with them. If you offer direct deposit, then you can give that to the employee to get their authorization to do direct deposit. Most kids will have accounts by that time, but remember, we can't require direct deposit. It just needs to be given as an option for kids. And then, of course, all the trainings, as I mentioned, harassment prevention, WVPP, all the other acronyms that we have. And remember, your employees, most of them, you're probably hiring for minimum wage, but if they are receiving a higher wage, say you're paying them $20 an hour, for any of the training that you need to do, that orientation training process, you can actually pay minimum wage for that. So if you were paying somebody $20 an hour, for minimum wage, you could pay them $16.90 for that training time. But then when they go back to their regular functions, they have to be paid their regular minimum wage. Except, of course, if you are in a fast food establishment, we always have to pay those fast food wages. So a Form I-9 is required of all of your new hires, including your minor employees that might be working for you. So this is just, I'm going to give you a general reminder about I-9s. We are encouraging everyone to do an I-9 audit, just because there has been quite a bit more attention placed on I-9s and more enforcement. So this is a great time, summertime, to do an audit of your I-9 forms. If you're a CEA member, we have a toolkit that takes you step by step on how to do that I-9 audit process. Very, very easy to do, but it does take a little bit of time, especially for some of you that are in larger organizations. But we do recommend everyone does a Form I-9 audit. And then when you're bringing on new employees, you'll make sure that you are being compliant with that. Because again, they're a fairly expensive penalties that are assessed if you are not following those I-9 guidelines. So a couple of differences when it comes to bringing minors on board and filling out that I-9 that'll be a little different than your regular employees that you've worked with in the past. So as you know, all employees are required to either provide something from List A or they provide something from List B and List C on that Form I-9. So some of the students that might be coming to work for you, they might have a passport that is listed on List A, and you can accept that. That's perfectly fine. But sometimes kids don't have as much. Maybe they're not even driving yet. So keep in mind, a official school identification card can be used for that List B document, so you can accept that. But if a minor can't provide a document from List A or List B, a parent or their legal guardian can establish identity for them. And this sometimes happens again if they just don't have some of that documentation. So if a minor's parent or legal guardian needs to help them fill out that form, they are going to complete the information in Section 1. Remember, Section 1 of the Form I-9 needs to be completed on the individual's first day of pay when they first start working for you. So that minor's parent or guardian needs to help complete that. They're going to check the box that will indicate that that individual is a minor. They're going to enter the words minor under age 18 in the signature field, and then they are going to fill out that Supplement A. That used to be on the bottom of Form I-9s, but now it is a separate form. It's known as Supplement A. So make sure also that you're always using the most up-to-date Form I-9 because it has changed in the past couple of years. So if a parent or guardian comes in to complete that, you're going to make sure that they fill out that Supplement A since they are the one completing that document for them. Under Section 2, which is Section 2 is the employer responsibility. And as a reminder, your employee, or excuse me, you as the employer need to fill out Section 2 within 3 business days of that individual working for you. You're going to enter minor under age 18 under List B. So make sure you're following along with those I-9s and getting that process complete so that you are thorough in all of your documentation. The other thing we recommend is that you want to make sure you send your employees through all the training that send the minors through all the training that you send your regular employees to. So since they're going to be non-supervisors, they need 1 hour of training. And we recommend you make this part of that new hire orientation process. So when you're going over that new paperwork, set aside an hour for them to attend that harassment prevention training. A lot of the times, this will be the first time that they've seen it or done that training. So you want to make sure that you let them know that it's very important. You're going to, of course, share your harassment prevention policy with them. Remind them why you're doing the training for compliance, all that kind of good stuff. All your employees in general need to be trained within 6 months of the hire date. We recommend that you do it as part of that new hire orientation. But for temporary or seasonal employees, which if you're just hiring someone for the summer, if they're working for less than 6 months, they need to receive that training either within 30 calendar days or within 100 hours of working, whatever is first. So that's why we say just go ahead and do it as part of that new hire orientation. And as I mentioned before, all employers, if you have 1 or more employees, need to have a harassment prevention training. So make sure, policy, not a training, a policy as well as the training. And so make sure you're being compliant with that. All right, so true or false? The onboarding process occurs only on the employee's first day. When you get all the required documents signed, then you're done. Well, I think you all know that that is false. We recommend the onboarding process is an ongoing process. So I know that first day is when you're doing lots of paperwork and covering lots of things, but we need to make sure we are checking in with our employees throughout their employment with us. So if somebody is going to be with you for the summer, that certainly seems like a 30-day, a 60-day check-in, just to make just to make sure that things are going really well. A lot of minors will say they hardly get any training at work, and we want to make sure that in order for us to set our employees up, including our minors, for success, we need to make sure we're getting them all the training they should have. So we want to make sure, I know it's a short period, but we want to make sure we're always continuing with that training so that we can really set it up to be a good experience for them. So here are a couple of best practice reminders for you. Communicate with these individuals before the first day. Again, that's why we really encourage that offer letter. You could send them a text, you can send them an email. Most minors like to text more than do email these days. So however you can communicate, just make sure that you are telling them the day they're going to start, the time they're going to start, who they should ask for when they come in. Also, if there's anything they need to wear in particular, that they need to wear dark pants and a white shirt, or black pants or excuse me, black shirt and any color jeans, or blue or black jeans, let them know so that they show up in the appropriate thing that they should wear. Also, make sure you introduce them around, certainly to the person that they should go and talk to, their main manager or their point of contact, or the lead or the foreman, whoever it is. Introduce them to their teammates. If you can assign a mentor, or again, just someone they can go and ask questions, that's very, very helpful. And set those clear expectations so that they know what they should do, what's expected of them. They're going to be very overwhelmed in most situations, so make sure you kind of break it down into manageable parts for them. But let them know, really what this role is going to look like and what they're going to do. And just keep checking in with them. Make sure that they're getting the support they need, and you can end up having a really, really great employee. So let's talk a little bit about what to expect when we're hiring our minors. You are dealing with employees who are brand new to the work world, and they might have had very different experiences seeing how their parents worked, or their guardians, or their siblings. So we'll talk a little bit about that. Talk about emotional maturity and some things to look out for, and then some work restrictions when it comes to those hours, as I mentioned before. So when it comes to lack of experience, if we all think back to our first jobs, I worked in a video store, everybody. It was called Video Time, but it was spelled Tyme because it was fancy. I knew absolutely nothing, but I wanted to start working as soon as I could. So as soon as I turned 16, I went and got a job and started working, but I had no idea what I was doing, had absolutely no expectations. And I barely knew who I was supposed to report to. I remember kind of looking around like, so who's my boss? So that's why we need to make sure we're really kind of over communicating. So we want to help our minors as they're starting to enter the workforce, because it is going to be overwhelming. They might need a little extra training. We might need to spend a little more time on certain computer programs that you are using. Most kids are incredibly tech savvy, but if it's a different program, they might need a little extra time to get up to speed. The other thing we can ask for, and that's part of your recruiting process, is you can ask for, references. And a lot of times, of course, they won't have a work reference, but they can have a reference from a teacher, from a coach, from a counselor. And sometimes I've noticed, because my kids asked for those letters as well, some of those people would put in what they were really good at, or where their skills were. And that might help you as a manager too, to kind of know the best place to put that individual so that you can really use their skill set to the best. Excuse me. When it comes to unknown emotional maturity, yes. So, for those of you that remember being a teenager or have had teenagers, it's a busy time. It is a transitional time. There's a lot of emotion. There's a lot of feelings, especially kids that might be getting ready to be seniors or to head off to college. They're really trying to figure out who they are as individuals. So this is where we, again, want to make sure we're being a supportive employer, and we want to make sure we're setting a very healthy work environment. We say that at CEA all the time. You want to have a healthy workplace. That is for all of your employees, as well as people that are coming to start working for you for their first job. The other thing to remember is some kids can be very susceptible to influence by others, which is why I would encourage you to make sure you are partnering them up, or you have a mentor for them who is a very positive, healthy, proactive individual, because that is going to reflect onto that employee who's working for you, to that minor who's working for you. So you want to set them up just with the absolute best person that can train them, who can help them, so that they can have a really good experience. Also, another thing to remember, encourage questions. Tell that minor who's working for you, feel free to ask me any question or ask their mentor, whoever you're setting them up to work with, to partner with. Encourage them to speak up and ask those questions at the end of the day. Is there anything you didn't understand? Is there anything that we can work on for your next shift so that you feel more comfortable in this role? Over explain. Really, this is the time to do a lot of extra communication. Also, be careful about using a lot of industry jargon. Like in HR, we have so many acronyms that most people don't even understand. Be careful with that because you're so used to speaking in your own work language. A lot of kids that are coming in will have absolutely no idea what you're talking about. So make sure instead of just saying, today we're going to go over the WVPP, you want to make sure today we're going over the Workplace Violence Prevention Plan, which is known as a WVPP. So make sure you're kind of over explaining just to put everything in context for them. Now, when it comes to restrictions for hours, there are a lot, and it really varies based on what the work is they're doing, their age group, what day of the week it is, all those kind of things. So that's why, again, I really encourage you take a look at that work permit, really pay attention to it, and make sure that you are following it. Obviously, the most restrictions in place will be when school is in session. For the summer, it's a little more lax, so you have some more flexibility. But just make sure you're always referring to the work permit. Now, we do have a bit.ly for you on this slide, which is very helpful. This is an entire summary chart for minors. It goes from the age 12 all the way up to age 18. So it'll give you some guidelines, but again, make sure you're referring to that work permit, which is really kind of the standard that you want to use for your employees. I do want to just kind of remind you about a couple of other things. When it comes to following those hours, there was actually a really large retail chain. It was Journey Shoe Store. If you've heard about those, we have one of those in a local mall near me. They ended up having to pay huge amount in penalties and fines because they had minors who were doing some restrictive tasks. They had individuals that weren't working the correct hours, or they were overworking them before school. So on school nights, what the state considers school nights. And it was, they had to pay out tens of thousands of dollars. So we want to make sure that doesn't happen to you. So again, really pay attention to those hours, and then make sure that you're not doing any restricted activities. So there are some restrictions in place for anyone under the age of 18, which are considered hazardous things for individuals to do. Certainly working with explosives, ammunition, that is completely prohibited. The one I think that most people get confused by is this kind of the motor vehicle driving or outside helper guideline. So this means you can't have minors driving for you. You also can't have minors. Often they will have somebody who is kind of a guide to guide a truck back into a bay, for example. If you're in a warehouse, you cannot have a minor do that. So they really shouldn't be involved in any vehicles at all. Also, any dangerous machines, Hobart machines for bakeries, those are restricted. Anything that are any of those power or like slide line machines, those are restricted as well. So be really cautious about that and make sure that you're following along with those guidelines. As I mentioned before, there are more restrictions the younger an individual is, so be cautious with that. And of course, when it comes to alcohol, lottery tickets, gas stations, any motorized apparatuses, motorized moving equipment, there's lots of restrictions. So be very cautious and make sure you're following along with all of those guidelines. So let's talk about some of the requirements you have as a manager or as a business owner that you want to make sure you are following. So we talked a lot about harassment prevention training that you want to provide to all of your employees. Of course, workplace violence prevention plan, which as a reminder, that's due July 1st. So if you haven't done that yet for this year, that's the new requirement, or sorry, not the new requirement, this year's requirement. It's been around for a couple of years, but make sure you retrain your employees workplace violence prevention plan. Also your IIPP, your injury illness prevention plan. You want to make sure you're doing all of the training for all of your employees. For those of you that are hiring minors in California, you're required to provide additional training to any supervisors, or what's known as somebody who has supervisory oversight, which we'll talk about here in just a second, you need to make sure that they are attending mandated reporter training. So this is for any human resource employees. They need to report any and all forms of abuse. And then individuals who are supervising minors would need to report any form of sexual abuse that they suspect is going on with a minor who's working for them. So CEA has a training. It's just about an hour long. You're able to purchase it on our store. You can purchase it one time and show it to all of your supervisors. But again, this is for supervisors who are overseeing minors. So if you have supervisors who aren't going to be supervising minors, they don't need to attend the training, but anyone who is supervising a minor does need to have this training. So make sure you're being compliant with that. And again, kind of a broad definition of what a human resource employee is. It doesn't just mean somebody who has a HR assistant as a title. It's any employee who's designated by you as the employer who can accept any complaints of misconduct. So that can be grievances, harassment, discrimination, etc. So that might be a supervisor, that might be a foreman, that could be a lot of people. So what we would recommend is provide that training to anyone that you think could have that supervisory experience or supervisory role, just to make sure you're covering all of your basis. And it's a best practice. There aren't requirements that it has to be done every year. But we would encourage you, especially if you do have a lot of seasonal minors that are working for you, it's probably a good idea to do that every year. Certainly, if anybody is hired or promoted into that role who will now be supervising minors, you want to make sure you do that training for them as well, just so you can really stay compliant with it. Okay, so I wanted to wrap up with just a couple of reminders for you when it comes to hiring our minors. We recommend that you have job descriptions for every position in your company, including any of those seasonal positions, of summertime positions, even if a minor will be working in that role. You want to really take a look at what are the needs for that position. Again, what are those standard essential functions? Is it Microsoft Office? Is it they're going to be working out in your warehouse? Of course, make sure that they comply with all the safety practices. Is it they're going to be working on a golf course and they're working on the driving range, picking up golf balls or whatever it is? Make sure you write down what those essential functions are. You want to make sure you also list any requirements that they'll be working on. Again, Microsoft Office, or if they're going to be designing PowerPoints, any things that they need to know, some of those skills, so that they'll know that they need to brush up on those. You also want to make sure that you are standardizing your hiring process. And we always recommend that you ask applicants the same core questions. And that's a great idea to pre-type those up so that they're ready to go, especially if you have a couple of different people that might be interviewing someone. So everyone is asking those same questions. Of course, there's always different questions that come up, but asking those core questions about experience, about their skill set, about what they're interested in doing, what interested them about the job, kind of that original slide that we talked about. Make sure you're asking all those same questions again, so you're being consistent. And then, of course, it's all about onboarding. So I really encourage you, make sure that you are following those process. We're still going to make sure you're having your individuals fill out all of the new hire paperwork, get the I-9, get the W-4, get the DE-4. Those are all required for your minors who are working for you. And we want to make sure, again, we're being consistent with that and having them fill out all of that new hire paperwork. And then all that training as well. Harassment prevention, day one, is what we would recommend you do, and as well as your workplace violence, your injury prevention. And then really work on setting that positive tone with these new hires, because it really does make a big difference. And you can kind of be the hero that is that great first boss that really set them up for success, that they enjoyed working for. It was a really positive, healthy environment. All of those things are really important to do for our new employees who are starting to work for us. All right. So if anyone has any questions, feel free. You can drop them into the chat. I would be happy to answer them there. I do want to remind everyone just about that amazing hotline where you can call and ask any questions about today's topic or really anything. If you're struggling with wage and hour issues, if you've got questions on paid sick leave, I don't think I said that. That's a good reminder. If your minor who is working for you is an employee, if they're not through an internship, they are an employee on your payroll. Yes, they do need to get paid sick leave. So remember, paid sick leave, they get 1 hour for every 30 hours they work, or you can give them a lump sum of 40 hours. Most businesses choose to just do the 1 hour for every 30 hours because I know a lot of the minors who are working for you, maybe they're only working 10 to 15, up to maybe 20 hours a week. So it could take them a couple of weeks to accrue an hour of paid sick leave. But remember, they have the same protections. And if they call and they've got accrued sick leave and they say, I am sick, I need to take paid sick leave today, we need to make sure we're paying them that paid sick leave and we're not taking any adverse action against them because that is protected time. So if you have other questions on paid sick leave, give us a call at the hotline. We've had so many questions lately on the hotline about leaves of absence and reasonable accommodations, people asking for time off or modified schedules. Give us a call. We're happy to talk through all of those things with you. Breaks, meal periods, I know that causes lots of headaches. Definitely give us a call and we'll tell you best practices and what you should do on that. Employee handbooks. We talked about it earlier about how important it is to have policies. This is a great time of the year to make sure your handbook is updated for 2026. There have been a lot of changes in the past couple of years. If you have not updated your handbook this year or last year, I promise you it is time to update it. We have a DIY template that you can purchase on our store on our website for a very reasonable cost. Everything is written for you. You just have to go in and customize it with information about your vacation or your holidays or any of those other company specific things, but everything else is written for you. So it's a really easy way to get an up-to-date handbook. We encourage everyone to do that. And if you have questions on policies or just the handbook, give us a call. We'd be happy to chat with you on the hotline. Harassment prevention, if you need help with that or training, let us know. Lots of remote workers dealing with people who are hybrid. So we can help you with all of those things. And Anna has already worked her magic and dropped several things in the chat box. Thank you so much, Anna. You've got links to your mandated reporter training, which is a recorded webinar. The slide I have up right now is our survey slide. You can snap that QR code with your phone or ask a minor to tell you how to do it because they'll know. But I know you guys know how to do that too. Or you can click the link in the chat box, which will also take you to that survey. She also added in information about our next training, which is the mid-year labor law update. That is a great 60-minute training that gives you an overview of everything that's going on in the state so far this year, things that you need to make sure you are up to date on. So I definitely hope you will join us for that. She also dropped in that DIY handbook template. So join us. Get that on our store if you need it, or give us a call if you have questions about that. We'll be happy to talk with you about that. And there is a harassment prevention training tomorrow. That should be a good one. I hope everyone can join us for that. If you find that you need a little more assistance outside of the hotline, maybe you'd like us to come on site, maybe you need to partner up a little more with someone on a one-on-one basis for HR, give us a call. We'd be happy to put you in touch with our membership services team who can talk about our different memberships. You've got info on that slide. And then we've got our training codes for you as well. For HRCI, it is 745532, and your SHRM code is 26-5C9J6. That's just a jumble of letters and numbers there, and I was having a tough time with that. Like, whoa, that was a weird one. And let's see, I think we're up to date in the chat box. So I don't think there are any other questions. So I will just thank everyone so much for your time and attention today. And I will turn it back over to Anna to wrap it up for us.
I mean, I think you covered basically everything. So you made my job very easy. Thank you, Miss Bradford. But I do want to thank you, Mary, for sharing your time and expertise with us. Thank you to Colleen and the entire team over at Ventura County for everything that you do for employers and HR professionals in your area. And then thank you all for taking time out of your busy day, especially the lunch hour, to train with us. We certainly hope that you register for the next training on July 23rd, that mid-year labor law update. As Mary said, it's only 60 minutes. Sometimes it's 90. So this is a nice treat to only have a 60-minute training. But we really look forward to seeing you for that one or another training in the future. And definitely stay up to date on Ventura's mailing list because they do also have another in-person and on-site event coming up in August. So the registration, we're not managing that registration, so make sure that you are active on their email list and connect with Colleen or someone else on their team, and they'll be able to get you that registration page. But look for an email from us with the PDF of the slide deck and the link to the next training, and we'll see you over in July. Thank you, everyone. Cheers.